Call to order the Planning Commission meeting for Thursday, November 18th, 2021. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Harold, could we please call the roll?
Yeah, Commissioner Knobloch,
Here.
Commissioner Heikkila,
Here.
Commissioner Bradley,
Here.
Commissioner Casey,
Here.
Commissioner Schmolke,
Here.
Commissioner Geisler,
Here.
and Chair Schwartz.
Here. All right, our first order of business this evening is to adopt our agenda.
Chair Schwartz.
Commissioner Schmolke.
I will make a motion to adopt the agenda, but I'd like to also propose and make a motion to amend the agenda to move item number 4 up to number 2.
Second is amendment.
Motion by Schmolke, second by Geisler. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda's been adopted. Next, we have the approval of the minutes of our October 21st meeting.
Chair Schwartz.
Commissioner Knobloch.
If there are no amendments, I was not able to see any, but if anyone else sees any, I make the motion for approval of the minutes from the meeting from October 21st.
I'll second.
Motion by Knobloch, second by Schmolke. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the minutes are approved.
Abstain.
Abstain.
With 2 abstentions, Commissioners Casey and Heikkila. All right, our first order of business this evening is planning case 21-38 and 39, the site plan and conditional use permit at 3525 and 3531 Coon Rapids Boulevard and 34XX 115th Lane, U-Haul Company of Northern Minnesota. Mr. Halligan.
Excuse me. Chair and Commissioners, this is a application for U-Haul for a conditional use permit and site plan for an indoor self-storage facility. The property is highlighted here in black. Some may know it as old Pedersen Floral property located on Coon Rapids Boulevard. This is Pheasant Ridge and 115th on the back. There is frontage along the boulevard as well as some frontage off along 115th. The site is about 1.93 acres and it's currently made up of 3 parcels. A companion item to this request is a preliminary plat that would plat these 3 lots into 1 lot. The applicant's proposing a 17,554 square foot indoor self-storage facility with 9 parking spaces. Parking spaces are located along the east side of the building here. There's also a loading dock proposed at the rear of the building, which is this area right here. The building will provide storage for U-Haul's U-Box containers. Kind of functions, the containers are brought into the site, they're dropped off and stored in this facility. And then typically, they're brought out and dropped off at the client's locations. There is, the customers or clients do have the ability to make appointments to come in and look at their storage containers. They'll bring it down out of the racking system that allows the customer access to it. There's two access points into the building. One is at this location here by the parking. The other is a door along the south side of the building facing Coon Rapids Boulevard. Indoor self-storage is defined as follows. It's a fully enclosed building that is climate-controlled, containing separate, individual, and private storage spaces of varying sizes, leased or rented on an individual basis for the storage of personal property, where the individual renters control their individual renters control and access individual storage spaces. Each unit must be directly accessed from inside the interior of the building via its own access door. Outdoor access to individual units is prohibited. Ancillary retail sales of related items such as moving supplies and facility offices may also be included. Such facilities are to be used for storage only. When comparing this definition with how staff sees the facility actually operating, staff does not believe that the proposed facility meets the definition for an indoor self-storage facility. You've identified the following reasons for that position. The storage spaces must be of varying sizes. Storage containers are not varying sizes. They are a consistent size, 8 feet high, 8 feet long, and 5 feet wide. Individual control. Renters must control or access individual storage spaces. The owners of the facility control access. The renter must ask them to bring the storage container from the racking system to a common area where the renter can access the container. The renter schedules a time to access the container, and the U-Haul brings it down to them. Outdoor access to individual units is prohibited. The main features of the facility is that the units can be taken off-site and delivered to the renter's home to allow the renter outside access to the container. In addition, according to the company's website, the houses are housed in a secure warehouse. Specialized trucks are used to bring the storage containers to and from the facility. The website goes on to say that goods are transported by trucks with gentle right suspension for safe shipping. Containers can be shipped across town or across the world, and they'll store them until they're ready. Again, it's really the operational characteristics of the facility that staff believes make this more of a warehouse operation than what was anticipated when the city amended the zoning code with the definition for indoor self-storage facility. With that, the staff believes that the warehouse facility in this location is inconsistent with the underlying zoning and the city's long-term vision for Coon Rapids Boulevard. In looking at the requirements for the site plan criteria, staff believes there are several items on here where the proposed facility is not consistent with those requirements. The first one is compatibility with surrounding land uses. The proposed plan is not compatible with adjacent land uses because warehousing is not allowed in the general commercial zoning district. Not place excessive traffic loads on local streets. Most of the traffic generated by this development will be commercial trucks. They have different characteristics than smaller vehicles, so they put a different stress on local streets. Conform to the city's goals and policies. The proposal is not consistent with the comprehensive plan. The warehouse at this location is inconsistent with goals and policies of Chapter 2 of the land use section of the comprehensive plan. Achieve a maximum of safety, convenience, and amenities. In this case, the site plan issue, walkway should be provided between the parking stalls and the building to provide customers safe and secure access to the door. And also a sidewalk should be installed from Coon Rapids Boulevard to the entrance facing Coon Rapids Boulevard. The landscaping is insufficient in several areas. Not create detrimental disturbances to surrounding properties. Project will create disturbances that'll be detrimental. Warehouses are not an allowed use due to the lack of active uses and incompatibility with the adjacent residential properties. And meet Title 11, no, the proposed warehouse is not consistent with the broad goals outlined in Chapter 11 for orderly development. Looking at parking and access, the parking plan includes 9 parking spaces, which is typically sufficient for these type of facilities. There's a loading dock in the rear of the building. It includes the recessed trailer parking area and then a raised platform, which is right here. And it's got a loading door where the U-boxes can be brought into and out of the facility. Access to the site is from Coon Rapids Boulevard. There's an existing curb cut that will be utilized to access the site. There is a second access over here that will be partially closed off. It's currently shared with the residents to the west, so that part that is on the residential property will remain open so they have access. The part that was shared with Pedersen Floral site will be closed off. Looking at compliance with the conditional use permit standards, again, the use is in conformance with the city's comprehensive plan. Staff does not believe that's the case. The use is compatible with existing or intended character of the zoning district. The proposed warehouse is not compatible with the mixed-use character of that area. The use will not depreciate property values. The proposed warehouse could have a negative effect on the property values because you're getting an industrial building adjacent to commercial and residential uses. Staff does believe that it meets the standards for will not produce dangerous or detrimental impacts, will not create traffic congestion, unsafe access. The use will be served adequately by essential services. The use will not create excessive additional requirements at public cost. The use will preserve and incorporate the site's important natural features. There are trees, along the back of the property here, and shows on the landscape plan. Along back here, along 115th, that will be preserved. And looking at the River Rapids Overlay District Development Guidelines, staff believes that it does meet compliance with most of those features. However, there is no canopy awning or entry treatment or focal feature facing a public street. Both of the entrances to the facility here and here are smaller service type doors. So there's not, those two entrances do not meet that design guideline. This is the grading plan here. Water will be directed back along the rear of the property into this stormwater basin here. There is no access going out onto 115th. That area will be utilized as stormwater basin. Landscaping, 2 additional overstory trees are required along Coon Rapids Boulevard. Additional shrubs are also required along the boulevard. The parking lot has to be landscaped. Code requires that 3% of the parking lot be landscaped, and no landscaping is proposed. And additional ornamental trees are required in the open space area. An opportunity for that would probably be across the front. Along this property line here is sewer easement, so planting trees in that area and larger shrubs isn't allowed. And a matter of fact, these 2 trees here will have to be relocated, maybe in this area here. And then there's also the stormwater basin back here that limits open space plantings. There are some signage proposed on the building elevations. Signage will be approved as separate permits. They're not approved as part of this site plan. This is the floor plan of the proposed building. You've got storage area here, and in this area here. The main entrance is here, and this is the area where customers can come in, and after their U-Box is pulled from the system, they can bring it down here and they can access it. It's really as you can see from here, there isn't a second floor. It's just a 1-floor building. These are the line drawings of the building elevations. This is the south side facing Coon Rapids Boulevard. You've got the windows across the main floor. You've got breaks in materials as well as changes in the roof lines. This is the east elevation. They've got this corner treatment wrapped around, and you've got the windows extended along the east side. This is the main entrance here with parking along this side of the building. That's the signage area here that they're proposing. That's one of the signs that'll be subject to separate permits. These darker areas here are areas where plantings can grow up along and attach themselves to the racking system through here for them to grow on. This is the rear of the building with the recessed loading area and the storage doors and the platform for unloading. And this is the west elevation. Again, they bring the brick and the windows wrapping around the front with the planting systems on the side of the wall here. This is a little better description of how it works. They've got the brick along the south elevation, facing the boulevard, wraps around the east side along with the windows. And then they've got the low windows that meet the glass requirement along here. And then on the east elevation, they've got the brick across the black with the planting screening here, and then the material up top. And this is the west elevation. Again, the brick wraps around the corner, and they've got the plantings here with the breaks and materials along here. And this is, again, the north elevation with the loading dock and loading door here. You can see in this elevation here where the breaks in the building to give some relief facing Coon Rapids Boulevard, and also the breaks in the roof line where it drops down and comes in and out corresponding with the breaks in the facade. With that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission find that the facility does not meet the definition for self-storage, indoor self-storage, based on the findings discussed earlier. And staff is recommending that Planning Commission deny the application because it does not meet that definition. With that, I'll answer any questions, and the applicants are here in the audience to speak to the commission tonight also.
Thank you, Mr. Harlicker. Commission, any questions for Mr. Harlicker before we have the petitioners present? All right, petitioners, would you like to make a presentation? Please come to the microphone, give your name and address for the record.
I'm Kellen Sybrandt, Marketing Company President for U-Haul of Minnesota. More or less, I want to answer any questions that you guys may have for U-Haul during this process. I just want to, just a brief overview of our U-Box self-storage program. Many are not familiar with it. It's somewhat of a new program and something that, especially during the pandemic here, we're trying to navigate, obviously, a changing market like every other industry. And we're trying to listen to our customers' needs, and what they're telling us is this is a self-storage product that they want. It's a booming business for us, and we want to provide it here in Coon Rapids to them with this new state-of-the-art facility that we're super excited to hopefully work with you guys on. And as far as U-Box, U-Haul strives to make moving and storing convenient and easy for our customers. We achieve this by offering a wide range of self-storage options to choose from, one of which is U-Box. Customers are able to pick up their U-Box from a U-Haul self-storage location or have the U-Box delivered to their doorstep where it can be filled with household items at their leisure. When the U-Box is packed and ready, customers can return the U-Box to a self-storage location or have it picked up and delivered to any of our self-storage locations throughout the U.S. and Canada. U-Boxes are temporarily stored until the customer decides when they're ready to pick up their items or have them returned to them. In the interim, customers are able to access their items as needed from our location. So that's just a brief overview of U-Box in general and how we see that product. As far as the self-storage industry and this mobile type of self-storage, it's really a future of the industry. And what we found during this last year and a half, 2 years, and why this part of the business is really booming is it can be hands-free if the customer wants it to be. You know, when I go to Target, I a lot of times do the drive-up. That's a change in their industry. Change in many restaurants in the area with DoorDash, with pickup options at the drive-up and in their parking lots and whatnot. And what the customers really like about this is they can pick it up on a trailer, we can deliver it to their home, they can come drive inside that facility where their containers are waiting for them to load up. And if they're moving across country, they don't have to drive a truck, hire movers. We'll ship it to another storage location and then either bring it to their home or they do the opposite. They come drive into that facility and grab their things and go. So that's where we see it as a positive for the customers and the community in the area. And I'll answer any questions you guys have.
Well, first question I would have is, looking at the plans, could you show, you said that the people can drive into the facilities to access their containers. Where is the drive-in door for people to access the interior of the building?
We have to put the garage doors on the back of the building. So that garage door at the back of the building that you see with the loading dock, they're able to access through that door.
And they can drive up to that?
Drive in. They can pull right in there and the containers will be, as you see right where that door is at the back side. So there'll be a large area inside that, which they'll be able to pull right into.
All right.
Is that not a lift system of some kind?
So there's a sunken dock, so when when we want to ship the box, a truck will pull in there so that the forklift can set it right into the truck.
Chair Schwartz?
Commissioner Knobloch.
My question is the service is similar to which came out a few years ago, like the pods? Is that your-
Somewhat similar. Customers are not allowed to access their items at a pod facility per se.
Okay,
Whereas a customer can come here, just like our self-storage facility next door, and go right into their unit.
okay. Another question I have is, what is the axle size or the type of equipment, the trucks that will be picking up and delivering the U-Box containers? And how many units will be used?
So we have U-Haul has one delivery truck here in the metro that services all of our self-storage locations. It's a flatbed truck that can contain 6 of those U-Boxes on it, and it has a donkey forklift on the back. So it's 35 feet in length, I would say.
Okay.
And as far as how often that delivery aspect would be coming to this facility, we thought 5 to 7 times a week.
Okay.
Are the hours Monday through Friday? Is that-
Monday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
So, 7 days a week then?
Correct.
And there's adequate room for that 35-foot truck
Yep. Yeah,
to maneuver?
it will be able to turn around there, yes.
Chair Schwartz?
Commissioner Knobloch.
On the plans, it says the proposed building is 45 feet maximum height. The design looks very comparable to the main building to the east of it, right beside it. I'm not familiar, what is Mr. Hullerker, or to you, sir, the height, how comparison is the height of the proposed building to the existing?
I believe we're at 3 stories on that building over there, so it would be slightly higher.
Okay.
As far as how the elevation changed, I can't speak to that, in that range.
All right, thanks.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Geisler.
Statement. The self-storage that's currently in existence, is that a 24-hour access building?
Yes.
And do customers have to schedule an appointment, or they have their own access into the main building and then they can get into their unit as they need?
They have coded access to the building, as they will here, but it will not be 24/7.
So they'll have limited access to the units
They'll-
compared to
Business hour access with a card or code.
but it's less access than the indoor storage, correct?
Correct.
And then the U-Boxes themselves, their construction, do they actually have a door on them, or is it,
Yep, they have a door.
okay, is it
Door
built like
with
your,
a customer, it's a container, like you said in the notes there, it's 5 by 8 by about 7.5 feet tall. And the front side of it swings open.
So the whole
shuts, and
side
there's
swings open?
The front of it does, and it has, customer puts their own lock on the latch.
okay, is that different than the indoor storage? Does customers use their own lock there too?
Correct.
Okay,
Own lock and key.
thank you.
And I would need to make an appointment to access my box?
No, you could walk in and we'll get it ready for you, but we prefer an appointment so that we can be organized for the customer. So the customer can, excuse me, come right to the facility and we can get it ready for them. Or they can go online and set their appointment and say, we're gonna be there at 2 o'clock. Please have it ready to go for us here at the back, at the inside of the building.
And the boxes, what kind of material are they constructed with?
So, as we started this program, it was constructed with a wood material, and now I think we've manufactured close to 100,000 made of a FRP material. The same if you saw one of our trucks or trailers, the same material.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Schmolke.
So my quick question is this, so I think I'm still trying to picture this a little bit. So customers come in, they can drive into the building, you say then you get the container ready for them. Getting the container ready for them, does that involve like having to relocate it from where it's
Yep,
stored to?
we would move it from its stored area to a easily accessed point inside the building.
Okay, and so that'll be with like a forklift?
Correct.
Okay, and did you say how many times, what the expected traffic is per day? I don't remember if you said that.
We submitted I don't wanna, do you have that information, Scott, handy? We submitted a report based on our other facilities. Give me one moment. I wanted to say it was 25 trips a day
Okay,
with, it was slightly higher on Saturdays.
sure, okay, thank you.
Is this building gonna have separate employees from the other building, or are your employees gonna be working between the two buildings?
There'll be some coexistence, but this will bring 5 to 10 new employees for that building alone.
And how many employees do you anticipate to have on site at any given time?
3 to 4 on any given time.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Casey.
I will just ask, you mentioned that these U-boxes can be picked up by the customer?
Yes.
Would like a standard pickup do, or do you
Yep.
need a trailer for that, or
So we have specially designed trailers for that specifically.
that the customer would have to use? Is
Yes,
that what you
free
mean?
of charge, correct.
Okay, and then the U-box is put on that trailer by your facility?
Correct, yep. we
The
would-
customer hauls it away to their house
Mhm,
and comes back the same way,
correct.
and then there has to be some kind of specialized equipment to get it into the,
So the trailer
Building.
itself, and I wish I would have brought a visual, it's specially designed for our U-boxes, and it sits into the trailer and is strapped down, and it has a ramp on the back, so the customer can wheel their items up in. They would come back in, we would just grab it with the forklift, pull it back inside, or have them pull inside and do that.
okay, and when these are inside, you say, are they stacked? You know,
Yes,
3
they
and
are.
4 high,
Yes, they are.
and, of course, labeled.
Correct, yep, they all have their individual barcodes and, yep.
Okay, well, I
And
will
we-
say the
we-
outside of the
oh,
building
sorry.
doesn't, to me, look like a warehouse, but by
Thank you.
definition, I guess it falls there. It looks like a pretty nice building, and it's customer-friendly, I have to say that. My daughter didn't use your particular system, but at one point, a pod, and boy, that was handy, other than she couldn't get at it for about
Yeah.
4 months.
Yeah, that's,
So she had to selectively
positive.
put stuff in there.
and it's really flexible too. I mean, anyone that's moved and used self-storage, it sure is nice when you can load the things in at your home instead of loading a truck, driving the facility, unloading the truck, and then doing the opposite. And so you can see why it's a positive for some people. And some people do not like driving a U-Haul truck that they're not used to driving across the country.
Can I ask, where else in the Twin City or North Metro are these facilities? Do you have some?
We have Blaine, Brooklyn Park, two in St. Paul, Plymouth, Apple Valley, Burnsville, Bloomington, and obviously Duluth, Superior, St. Cloud, so all over the state. Everywhere that we have, this is self-storage to us. We look at it no different. It's our self-storage customers. They're all under the same program. You know, it's a self-storage product for us. So anywhere we have self-storage, this is a product the customer expects us to have. If they're moving with U-Haul and we don't have this option at our facility, they can't utilize this program. So it's very important for us to have.
It is customer friendly, I will say that, but thank you.
Commissioner Heigl? Good question?
A good portion was answered right there, but these containers, now, the customer does not buy the container, correct? They just simply use it?
Correct.
Unload
It's-
it in their driveway and you come and pick it up?
Correct, it's rented, it's rented, just, it's a storage unit.
Okay, because I'm totally unfamiliar with doing this. How many of these containers will fit inside of this building?
Close to 1,000.
At full capacity, it would hold 1,000?
Correct, at full capacity, which we normally, optimal is about 70% capacity. That allows us plenty of space and availability for customers to move in and out. And it's a little different because the boxes are moving more than per se, like, it's not a physical storage unit. So customers are moving and the boxes are moving with them. So it's a kind of an ebb and a flow.
Thank you.
So you have a rack system inside that they go into, or do they stack on top of each other?
They stack on each other.
So if I wanted access to mine and mine is down at the bottom of the stack, you've got to move all the others to get to mine.
Correct.
Whereas if it was a rack, you could just go to mine and just pull mine off.
Possibly, yeah. Yes. Depending on how the racking system was set up.
So theoretically, if I was to just come in and wanted to access my box, and mine is on the bottom and the back, it's gonna take probably an hour moving boxes to get to my box.
No, the way that it will lay it out with our procedures, that it won't be 20 rows deep of 4 high stack boxes. They'll be strategically placed, so it takes just a few minutes to get at each row.
You've done this before.
Many times. It works great.
All right, Commission, anybody else have questions for petitioner before we have a public hearing? All right,
Could I say one more thing?
Go ahead.
If that's okay. In regards to 3 of the main items that staff had on here regarding the proposed facility meeting the definition of indoor self-storage, I just want to address those real quick. The storage spaces must be of varying sizes. They are a consistent size, there's no getting around that. We do have, at our current facility next door, varying sizes available, 5x5 up to 10x20. Individual control, renters must control access. The renters will have a code and card to access the facility, to come in, to schedule their access to their box. So they'll be able to come into the secure facility. So it'll be no different than our current facility, which is controlled access with a code or card. In addition, they'll have their own lock and key for their units. And then the outdoor access to individual units being prohibited, we're not seeking outdoor access on our property. If the units are taken off-site on the customer's own property, that's when they'd be accessed off-site. And that's it.
all right, thank you. We may have more questions for you later.
Sure.
All right, at this time, I will open a public hearing in planning case 21-38 and 39 for the site plan and a conditional use permit at 3525 and 3531 Coon Rapids Boulevard and 34XX 115th Lane, U-Haul Company of Northern Minnesota. Anyone wish to speak public hearing? Please come to the microphone, give your name and address for the record, and limit your comments to 3 minutes, please.
Hi, I'm William Baker, excuse me, 3502 115th Lane Northwest, so the closest property that kind of wraps around me. This seems to be a very logical extension of their business. They've been great neighbors. This is very low traffic. I don't think I could ask for a better commercial development in my backyard than this. They've always addressed any concerns we've had immediately. I don't see how this is a negative. It sounds to me like it's more a problem with the definition not keeping up with market trends than this not being self-storage. I'm for it all the way. On top of that, barring this, we're leaving two dilapidated, dangerous buildings that are constantly broken into, and homeless people, it needs to be dealt with, whether you put this in or whether it's raised. And an additional comment, it is about, I can't even express how much better this is than putting the apartment building that was once approved to go there. That would have been horrible for property values, probably bad for crime. This is something that we won't even be able to notice right in our backyard because there's full mature trees and they're putting more mature trees in the plan. It seems to me about as ideal as it could possibly get. So I'm very much in favor of this.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak at the public hearing?
My name is Dennis Olison, and we have the property just to the west of this proposed building. We are also for this. We've seen a lot of things come and go since the year 2000, I think we've owned the property. And we like this. It's going to be a big improvement along that corridor. It'll keep the crime down. We see a lot of it with the building next door. The kids coming in any hours of the night. So we also, we just think this is a good thing. This is a positive. I think you guys, everybody on the council can work this out with what the building looks like on the outside. As far as those storage units, I've seen those before and they're a big plus. People are renting those things like crazy, so. That's it. We're all for it. We're all in.
Can we get your address, please, for the record?
Yeah. 3541 Coon Rapids Boulevard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak at the public hearing? Last chance. Anyone else wish to speak? All right, we will close the public hearing and contain comments to the commission.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Schmolke.
So I was actually surprised by the comments from the public hearing, to be quite honest. I was thinking about this, and I was concerned that, while I think the model is fabulous, I really do think that there is a growing need for this. I can see where this would be beneficial for U-Haul, for customers, clients who would be using the service. But I was really questioning whether or not this is the right place for it. It does seem like it is more industrial type of a format, right? With the storage containers and the fact that you need to use a forklift. And I'm thinking when I'm in an industrial area and I see a forklift, there's always the sound too of the backing up of the forklift and so forth. So it makes it seem very industrial. So I was concerned that sounds like that with the traffic, the number of times people are coming throughout the day, that would actually be a negative to the neighbors. So I'm conflicted because I'm hearing the neighbors being very supportive of it, and they're bringing, a lot of good, examples with regards to how they think it will actually help to improve. They definitely like it over the apartment. So I haven't made a decision, but I just wanted to kind of clarify. I think that's where I was leaning, but I'm just conflicted with now because of what the residents are saying with regard to how it improves it. So I would agree with staff. I do think it's industrial. That's definitely, I think that's definitely fitting with what's their recommendation is from that perspective, but.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Geisler.
So I don't know how we don't call this a warehouse. It's containers stored within a large building that has no other infrastructure built within it whatsoever. U-Haul's own website calls it a secure warehouse. It's a warehousing location, that is an industrial use. While there may be customers arriving here, it is primarily a storage facility for warehousing for them to move boxes in and out. I've looked at these, they don't meet the intent of what self-storage is in our code here. It's meant to be a fixed structure that has a door that people can enter and exit as they want. That's not what these are. These are boxes that you can get into and out of that they're organizing and managing for you. So as far as the validity of the model and the value of what this service is, no question whatsoever, that's a valuable service. That's not at all what I'm questioning here. But the code is pretty clear on what can go in this zoning in our overlay districts of what fits and what doesn't. That's pretty straightforward for us, and this is a non-conforming use for what we've got this designed as. And that's what staff's laid out for us here. I'm pretty sure we've got other industrial areas that could house this same type of facility within the city limits. There's definitely places where this could go within the city. I think it's a valuable amenity for the city, but I don't believe that this is the appropriate place for this type of facility to go. I do understand the public's comments. Those buildings do need to be removed and cleaned, and something needs to happen on this site. That's why we've been visiting this site for many, many years. U-Haul owns the site right now, so, that's kind of in their ballpark to decide what they want to do with it to improve the conditions for the neighbors. But yeah, I don't see any way that this fits with how we've zoned and aligned this site.
Chair Schwartz?
Commissioner Knobloch.
I understand the Planning Commission's review and their input and their definition of how it applies to the code. And I agree with them on that, but the more and more I looked at it, I think we're squabbling over the definition of a warehouse versus a self-storage facility. And I think if you look at it in its application and its use, in a way it is a self-storage facility. It's a slightly different kind. The market has changed. The world the environment of needs and demands of consumers have changed. It doesn't look like a warehouse, which I think Commissioner Casey mentioned. I think the commissioners on the panel should review, are we going to follow the code or the intent of, and this is maybe the city lawyer could step in. No, but I think the area, the gray area between what is a warehouse and what is a self-storage facility, even though for our code, this doesn't look like a warehouse, and according to the plan, I would be much more happier if more trees and shrubs and the canopy entrance was improved as recommended by the city planning department. But other than that, the definition, this doesn't look like a warehouse. It looks like a slightly different self-storage facility. So I think that's maybe something to mull over and debate. Are you going to review all the components, or are you going to go by the letter of the code of the area of the comprehensive plan, and that it's on Coon Rapids Boulevard, or are you going to look at its function and its benefits? So that's just what I want to say about that.
Chair Schwartz. Commissioner Bradley.
When I first looked at this, I was inclined, well, it doesn't fit zoning and the various issues. But as we get deeper into this, I began to question it.
while it may fit a technical definition of warehouse right now, this is not really a standard commercial warehouse with the large trucks, high traffic at 25 trips a day estimated. It's not like you're having, 50 or 100 semi-trucks in a day into a large warehousing unit area that's moving commercial property for commercial business. This is a storage facility for personal property for individuals. It's a modified, morphed storage warehouse. It doesn't neatly fit the definition of either. And in that, I'm starting to lean more toward looking at this more favorably. And especially since this is right next to an existing storage facility, common ownership, and a severely blighted property that could be rehabilitated, that would make things better for the community and the adjacent neighbors. Just because it can be neatly packaged as a warehouse and saved to violate our zoning, I'm not so sure that's true. Because this is kind of the ugly stepchild, I guess, or something. It's not, doesn't exactly fit neatly into that box. And I think it should be given a little bit more consideration.
Chair Schwartz.
Commissioner, excuse me, Mr. Bucciaconi.
So this is definite, we had plenty of meetings about this, let's put it that way. The application before the commission is for a self-storage facility. It's not for an amended definition of a self-storage facility, it's not for a quasi-warehouse use, it's for a self-storage facility. And so what I would tell the commission is to consider that and not an application that redefines what an indoor self-storage facility is or rezoning of the property or things of that nature. We don't get to change the definition tonight, and we don't get to rezone the well, you understand what we don't get to change the designation of this property. So if you believe that it's a self-storage facility, we have to make findings to support that. So any help would be appreciated.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Geisler.
I would have a very hard time finding that it's a self-storage facility when the building adjacent is identified as an indoor self-storage facility, and this building is materially different from that, as well as the other indoor self-storage facility within the city. The other multiple ones, they are all climate controlled. They have windows on multiple stories. They have hallways of which people can walk in inside. This is a drive-in and have somebody serve you your unit. You don't walk to your unit. You don't park your car and go to your stuff. It is a very materially different service model and use for a building. It is a warehouse that happens to allow customers to walk into it.
Chair Schwartz,
Commissioner Knobloch.
I'd like to ask Mr. Herlicker a question. In your analysis of the market of the U-Haul company and all their other locations and of the other locations and facilities that have this U-Box container, how many of them are they active at all the U-Haul locations? Is it throughout the Twin Cities? What are the zoning for all these other locations? And you can answer them all separately.
We did not do a market analysis of
Okay.
the other locations.
Chair Schwartz.
Commissioner Bradley.
Back to self-storage versus warehouse. I'm not trying to change the definition, but I'm saying it doesn't easily fit the definition of warehouse, and it if I had to take and draw a line, I'd say it comes a lot closer to a self-storage facility than it does to a warehouse. Nobody can walk into a warehouse and access the property. The warehouse is there for storage and delivery of product, probably on a pallet, whatever. You don't go in and get to open up the pallet, take something out, put something else in, and go back out. That's not the way warehouses work. This is storing personal property. That's a self-storage facility. You get to access the property there. So if you have to draw a hard line on it, okay, I can clearly see where it's more, it's a self-storage facility versus a warehouse. They function totally different.
Chair Schwartz.
Commissioner Schmolke.
I have to agree with Commissioner Bradley. I really feel like we're, what's in front of us here is we're looking at the findings that the staff is placed in question with regard to the definition of indoor self-storage, but all the things that Commissioner Bradley has said still hold true, right? Especially if this wasn't an indoor storage, again, just you wouldn't have access to the contents of the building. I think the three bullets, the storage size, or the storage container size for one thing, I mean, that's the conditional use provision that they're asking for. I think the size of the containers is a small thing. Individual control renters, again, they still do have individual control with respect to the fact that they are their containers. They can take things out and add things to them. It may be a little bit more controlled from the fact that they have to go through the assistance of the building owner, but again, they do have access. I'm looking at these three findings and just saying, I think I can get past these, and I would lean more towards the idea that this is personal property being stored, and if especially with the public support of it, I'm struggling to go against it. I would definitely, though, looking at the additional recommendations of staff, the other items have to be addressed. I do think that the landscaping, I've been past the property, and landscaping is weak. I think it needs to be dressed up, and so I would like to see this, dressed up, as I just said, so that it does take away from that industrial type look. But I think I can get behind this.
Chair Schwartz.
Commissioner Casey.
I wanted to ask maybe the petitioner again. Commissioner Bradley mentioned 25 trips a day. Was that accurate? I thought that's what you said. And
I did, and I believe I picked that up from him.
A day?
Correct. Yeah, between, most of that would be customers' personal vehicles.
Okay, well, I was thinking it was your big truck.
No.
Okay,
That was
that was my,
that was like one a day. They'll come to get the containers for that day to go deliver them.
yeah, okay, well, but the customers, they could be up to 25 a day.
The majority of the traffic will be the customers coming
Yeah.
into access.
Well, I started out saying, I like the looks of this. I don't think it looks like a warehouse. And by definition, I'm beginning to think it isn't. It's a self-storage unit. The neighbors are so amenable to it. That's, what a problem property this has been. Talk about an ugly stepchild. I agree the landscaping could be, the renderings we have here, they need some help. It could be softened, it could be
Well, they've got the
made to look like, and it's an overflow. It flows from the other facility governed by the same owner. I think it has potential. It's innovative. It's an up-and-comer kind of unit in service to customers. I think I'm going to be in favor of it, recommending it.
Well, I'd like to make a couple comments. For the most part, I'm agreeing with Commissioner Geisler. fact that, according to our report here, and if you take what Mr. Harker puts into the report as accurate, the company's own website says U-Haul or U-Box containers are housed in a, quote, secure warehouse, end quote. So they themselves call it a warehouse. The containers are stacked on top of each other and require use of a forklift to gain access. Petitioner stated that customers have a card and have access to the facility 24 hours a day. I don't know how I can access my,
No.
He didn't say that.
you don't have access 24 hours a day.
At the other one they do.
7 to 7, 7 days a week, 7 a.m., 7 p.m.
Your other building, you have access 24 hours a day.
That's correct.
So self-storage, you have access 24 hours a day, but your warehouse, you only have access 7 to 7.
Correct.
Well, that tells me right there, it's not a self-storage facility if I can't access it like I can their self-storage facility.
Is there a requirement of 24-hour access for self-storage?
I'm just going on
That's just a service.
the information that's
that we
been provided here, sir.
provide. Understood.
But your own website states it's a warehouse, so I can't see that it's anything but a warehouse, and there's no way that I could support this, case.
Chair Schwartz,
Commissioner Nelblat.
I'd like Mr. Harlicker, if you could ask the petitioner, how many U-Haul container facilities, self-storage facilities, are there in the Twin Cities, active? That as what is being proposed here.
Sure. So in the Twin Cities, we have Maplewood, Blaine, 2 St. Paul locations, Brooklyn Park, Plymouth, Bloomington, Burnsville, Apple Valley, Lakeville, I feel like I'm missing one. Like, that's at 11.
So 11 U-Haul box container facilities.
Correct.
And services.
Correct.
All right. And those are active.
Active.
All right.
How many U-Haul facilities or self-storage facilities do you have? Much more than 11, I would guess.
There's a couple different locations where we do not have the lot size to accommodate this self-storage option. Since this is a newer product, most of our locations, a lot of our locations have been in place 40 to 50 years, and we're constrained by lot size.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Geisler.
Just for what it's worth, the city defines warehousing as the storage of materials or equipment within an enclosed building. That is the city's definition of warehousing. There's nothing about personal or commercial or industrial product. It is simply the storage of materials or equipment within an enclosed building. Just, that's what the city definition is.
Okay,
For the sake of fact and truth here,
okay. Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Bradley.
then for the sake of fact and truth, self-storage is a warehouse.
Lawyers are having it out.
so, Mr. Chair. I'll ask the lawyer here.
We have one more.
If we have two lawyers, if
I
we-
appreciate the moment of levity. I'm sorry, Commissioner.
Third one. If we have a sub-definition that's more clear, that takes precedent over a general broad arcing definition, correct?
I'm looking it up in Wood
Commissioner
Commissioners right
Bradley
now.
answered the question for you, but yes. I think he was more, I mean,
I'm just being,
he's just being Commissioner Bradley.
yeah. If I may, I would continue, setting aside that if this does move forward, I would add that all of the conditions listed here, I agree. The landscaping is completely subpar. It needs to be addressed. All of the other sub-conditions here are a requirement. So there is still needs with whatever we're doing, regardless of which way the CUP goes. This site plan is still not there. And, you know, I guess I would point out to my fellow commission members that we've turned back a site plan to go back and get more work done for less than what's on the list here of things to be done before, so that we feel confident that the site plan meets what our guidance and approval. So I would just point that out as well, setting aside the CUP conversation. I guess I would ask, you know, the staff's recommendation here is all one piece, because obviously if the CUP fails, then the site plan's a moot point, is if the commission, should the commission separate, from staff's opinion, should the commission separate these two items if we want to move forward with either one or both of them? Is there a preference for staff on how to document that?
I think
Phone a friend.
the legal answer is the body can do it how the body wants. If you all think that this is an indoor self-storage facility under the Coon Rapids Code of Ordinances and not a warehouse under the Coon Rapids Code of Ordinances, then you can consider the site plan on its merits and things like that nature. But if you don't believe it fits in this location because of the definitions we've talked about plenty, then the action the body takes is also clear. That was a very lawyerly answer for it depends.
Yeah. Chair Schwartz.
Commissioner Schmolke.
So setting aside the debate on if it's a warehouse or in a facility, I want to address what you mentioned with the rest of the conditions, right? So, because we haven't talked about them, and I guess I am interested to know why, from the applicant, why some of the requirements are lacking. So with the landscaping specifically, for example, what's the reason we don't have the required shrubs and so forth?
I asked that same question today when I met with my team that put together the site plan. And what was told to me was there was some confusion on the landscaping requirement, which was cleared up when we saw the agenda and read through. We were missing X amount of trees, X amount of bushes. So I got everyone together today. We will commit to that requirement, whatever we need to do on the landscaping side.
Okay, so 2 additional trees, the 47 additional
Correct.
shrubs. Parking lot has to be landscaped, 25% additional ornamental trees. Those conditions are all agreeable.
Correct, yes.
Thank you. And then I think the other items too, is there anything with regard to the engineering comments, et cetera, that the rest of the commission?
Just the canopy, I
question
think,
to-
the entrance canopy.
Mhm.
I think it was one.
Yep, so the walkway should be shown between the parking stalls and the building.
Mhm.
Design feature with the canopy. So I hate to bother you again, but what about those items?
Sure, and if we could get a little guidance on exactly what you guys are looking for on the canopy side. Are we're speaking on the entrance at the corner there? Because I believe there is a small canopy, but if it needs to be more pronounced, exactly what you guys are looking for so that we can include that.
Yeah, Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Geisler.
I think that right there tells us that they needed to go back and work on the site plan if they're looking for staff guidance on how to comply with the River Rapids Overlay District. I think we as a body should probably separate these two conversation points because they're asking for guidance on how to be compliant with the code as the building as it exists. And we have one on our agenda tonight that did the exact same thing, and they went back and they worked on it and came back with a plan for us.
Chair Schwartz.
Commissioner Knobloch.
A question for Mr. Hardlicker. Do you recollect what the format of the canopy? I believe there is a canopy, isn't there, on the U-Haul building right next door?
I'm not familiar with.
Oh, there isn't?
the
Okay.
canopy on there.
Maybe there isn't.
Chair Schwartz.
Commissioner Bradley.
For the petitioner, at this point, because you have these questions, wouldn't you agree it's probably in your best interest to go back and talk to staff and to your team and come back with a little better plan so you could, give a little bit better presentation here, or?
Yeah, yes, if that is what we need to do, I would agree with that. I believe this is our 5th revision of this building, and
But you're still coming up with deficiencies as pointed out by staff.
correct.
So you need them to work a little closer.
Yeah, I think we just need to communicate better on that end.
And while it may be your 5th revision, it's our first view.
Sure.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Casey.
I'll just add that these items that we want to see addressed in another revision can go a lot to adding to the fact that it's still self-storage and that it's connected to the other business enterprise that it's connected to, in terms of the walkways and perhaps if we look at the canopy issue, maybe they can be coordinated a little bit, or the building, so there can be a connection, and that would make it a more smooth flowing enterprise, because that's what it's gonna be. It's quite an expansion. We'd like to see it meld well with the community and with its own mothership, so to speak. I guess the facility that's operating on the corner now.
Sure.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Commissioner Geisler.
Mr. Harlicker, with respect to the numbering here, PC 2138 is the conditional use permit, 39 is the site plan. Is that how this is currently recorded in the issues? Our agenda only has them together, so I'm just, if I can clarify whether PC 2138 or 39, which one's the conditional use permit? If anybody
38,
can.
I believe, is the site plan, and 39 is the conditional use permit.
Perfect, thank you.
Do we need a motion to postpone? or do
Well, I
we-
was going to, Chair,
Commissioner Bradley.
may I inquire from petitioner, how much time do you think you'd need to come back?
Yeah,
Mr. Chair.
I think.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We'll let him in.
Okay.
Sir, go ahead.
Not long. As long as we communicate well, and we know exactly what we're looking for, I can have that redrawn within a week.
Chair Schwartz.
Mr. Butternut.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It has to be dealt with in December. 60-day rule, we already extended it, we're done in January, so it has to be dealt with at the December planning meeting. And if it's a denial and they appeal, we'll still be okay because that extends the period.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, so if it were a denial, that would be a decision within the,
Yes.
for 1599 purposes, so. But Mr. Bucciccone is correct, the planning commission needs to take action at the December meeting to meet that deadline.
Or we could deny the request, which would end it.
Yes.
Correct.
So are we talking a separation here of, can we do that? Separate site plan and condition use permit?
You can.
Is there a benefit to doing so?
Depends on what we're doing.
Yeah.
What's that?
Depends on what we are doing.
Okay. Well, I'm not prepared to deny it. Where do we go from here?
So can I try to make a motion? I don't know if I'll be successful here. I'm going to, in planning case 21-38 and 39, with regard to the site plan and conditional use permit for 3525 and 3531 Coon Rapids Boulevard, et cetera. So the motion is to postpone the decision by the planning commission to give the applicant more time to revisit the findings and the conditions, to have then a decision at the December planning commission meeting. How did I do?
Second.
Motion by Schmolke, second by Bradley. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Case is continued to the December meeting by a vote of 5-2. Commissioner Geisler and Chair Schwartz opposed. See you back here in December.
Chair Schwartz? Do we, with regard to item number 2 then, do we
I
need
was
to?
just gonna ask Mr. Harlecker, will we still go ahead with condition 2, or number 4?
I think we'd still need to make a
I
motion.
mean, you can take separate action on the plat.
Because that's just combining the lots, right?
It is.
Correct.
That's why I didn't bring it up.
All right, our next case is planning case 21-40, a preliminary plat at 3525, 3531 Coon Rapids Boulevard and 34XX 115th Lane, U-Haul Company of Northern Minnesota. Mr. Harlequin.
Yeah, this is the companion application to the site plan and conditional use permit that was just tabled. It's at 1.93 acres, currently 3 lots, and they will be platting this into 1 lot. Staff is recommending approval of the preliminary plat with the conditions that all engineering comments be addressed, all comments from the Anoka County Highway Department be addressed, and park dedication in the amount of $9,650 be paid prior to releasing the plat for recording.
And Commission, any questions for Mr. Harlequin? All right, the petitioner's left the room, so we don't have any, do you have anything you want to add to the preliminary plat? All right. All right, we have a public hearing in this matter. I will open a public hearing in planning case 21-40, preliminary plat. 3525 and 3531 Coon Rapids Boulevard and 34XX 115th Lane, the U-Haul Company of Northern Minnesota. Anyone wish to speak to this public hearing?
Mr. Chair, is this a continuation
This is
of
the
from-
preliminary plat. This is a totally separate case.
Well, it says continuation of public hearing. I'm just wondering if.
Well, that's right, it was already
It was
opened last
opened
month. That's
last
right.
month.
So I reopened it, I guess, rather than
Yeah,
open.
just, we'll settle it now, but I just want to
Thank
be
you.
sure that gets in the language.
Anyone wish to speak at the public hearing? Seeing none, close the public hearing. And Commission, thoughts on the preliminary plat?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Geisler
I'll
was
defer to
first.
Commissioner Heikle.
Commissioner Heikler.
when we were discussing the apartment building proposal quite a while back, there was some questions about some underground utility or oil line under there. Does that have any effect with this?
Not as far as the platting goes. The plat will include an easement over the west 30 feet of this parcel, because that's where the sewer line goes through. And the site plan that you just looked at accommodated that 30-foot easement.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Geisler.
I'll move approval of planning case 2140, that we recommend approval of the preliminary plat with the following conditions. Engineering comments are addressed, comments from the Unoka County Highway Department are addressed, and park dedication to the amount of $9,650 be paid prior to releasing the plat for recording.
Second.
Motion by Geisler, second by Schmolke. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. This is a recommendation by the Planning Commission and a decision by the City Council at the December 7th meeting. All right, our next case, planning case 21-46, site plan for a 13,900 square foot multi-tenant building, 11670 Eagle Street, Amcon Construction. Mr. Hallecker.
Commission and Chair, this is the application that the Commission looked at back in October. They asked the applicant to come back with revised drawings to address issues raised at that meeting. One was provide some interest to the building, such as variations in roof line, additional landscaping, things like that. A focal element for the building, and revise the landscape plan so it complies with city code. This is the general site plan of the area. The trees here, it's been modified, so disregard the trees that are shown on this, but the general layout is the same, with the building here facing Eagle Street with Northdale along this side here. This is a designated wetland. Here's the grading plan. That hasn't been changed. You've got the larger infiltration basin here and another one here along the Northdale Boulevard to the rear of the building. As you can see, the landscape plan has changed significantly. It does meet the city's landscape ordinance with the street trees and hedge along Northdale as well, or along Eagle Street as well as Northdale Boulevard. They've added additional trees here, shrubs along the back of the building, and then trees kind of in this area here that kind of wrap around this drainage pond. And then they've got shrubs planted in front of each of the units, this location here. The building elevations, they broke up the facade more than what it was previously. They've got change in the facades at this point here. They've got two, then a bump out, then it goes back in for 2 units, and then bumps out again at the other end. So you've got that break in the front facade. They've added pillars at each of these corners here to dress up the building. Wherever there's a change in the facade, they've got a pillar there on the front. They've added awnings over the windows, as well as the brick wainscot on the front of it here. The doors will be painted the same color as the body of the building, and with the additional landscaping across the front, I think it's an effective way to break up that front facade. And again, you can see on the rear elevation here, they've got the same bump outs corresponding on the backside, so that rear elevation has the same bump outs. They've got a mix of material with the brick and stone and the lap siding up along this area here. And they've got different peaks that correspond with the bump outs to break up the roof line. That's also the case on the front here, here, down here, wherever there's a bump out. This is the colored rendering of the building. Gives a better perspective of what the building will look like, and we just didn't add the landscaping along the boulevard. With that, staff is recommending the Planning Commission approve the site plan with the condition that all engineering comments be addressed, sustainability comments be considered or addressed, and a site security agreement be entered into with the city. And with that, I'll answer any questions. The applicant is in the audience also for any questions.
All right, Mr. Harlicker, the perspective that you have up there, that does not show the pillars, is that correct?
Correct. They would be located here and at this corner, and this corner.
And then secondly, all the green areas by the entryways, that's all going to be sprinkled?
All landscaping areas are required to be sprinkled by code.
All right, Commission, any questions for Mr. Harlicker before we hear from the petitioner? All right, sir, go ahead. If you have something you'd like to add, give your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Hillier. I'm an architect for Amcon Construction. And first off, I apologize. That should have had those corner coins on them, and we're going to bring them all the way up to the top wherever we have a change in floor plan, where it moves back and forth. And it's the stone that I brought tonight. I was asked to bring some materials. I wanted to show it to you. Basically, this is what the stone is that's on the base of the building. And so it will look more like a limestone.
So that'll be the brown.
Yeah, that's more of a, well, it's kind of a more
Or
of a
beige.
creamy beige color, yeah.
And then on the rear elevation, you can see that along here also. They wrapped it around the building.
And what are those pillars when they go, the pillars are that same limestone?
Just,
Yeah, okay.
we'll go out about 18 inches in both directions. So it's just not on one side, it's on this side and where it comes back on the other side.
Okay.
And on the elevations, again, I apologize, the elevations do show that.
All right, thank you. We may have more questions for you later. All right, we opened a public hearing last month and continued it, so I will reopen the public hearing in planning case 21-46, the site plan for a 13,900 square foot multi-tenant building at 11670 Eagle Street, Amcon Construction. Anyone wish to speak at this public hearing? Anyone wish to speak? Seeing none, close the public hearing, limit comments to the commission.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Geisler.
I gotta say, I wish every application that we asked to go back and rework came back this much better. This is a great improvement from what we saw last month. This is exactly the kind of work that we love to see our developers bring to us, taking comments, implementing them, adding aesthetics even, beyond what we asked for, because they make sense and they make the building look good. So I'm very pleased with this redraft, if you will. I think this looks great.
And anyone have anything else to add, or is there a motion?
Chair Schwartz?
Commissioner Schmolke.
In planning case 21-46, I move to approve the site plan with the following conditions: that all engineering comments be addressed, sustainability comments be addressed, and a site security agreement be entered into with the city.
Second.
Motion by Schmolke, second by Heikkila. Any further discussion?
Second by Napa.
Oh, second by Nagbach, I'm sorry. Any further discussion? Hearing none? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. This is a decision by the Planning Commission and can be appealed to the City Council within 10 days if someone so chooses. Otherwise, good luck. All right, our next case is planning case 21-49, site plan for a 10,600 square foot retail building at 10525 Hanson Boulevard, DGOG Coon Rapids. Mr. Harlicker.
Yeah, Chair and Commissioners, the applicant is still working on revising their plans, and they've asked that the item be postponed to the December 16th Planning Commission meeting. We did extend the 60-day review period out to January 11th.
All right. We had a public hearing opened last month on this. I will reopen the public hearing on this case. Anyone wish to speak on this case, public hearing? Seeing none, we will continue the public hearing to the December 16th meeting.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Gieseke.
in planning case 2149, I move that we postpone this action to the December 16th meeting.
Second.
Motion by Geisler, second by Schmolke. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And case is continued to next month. Next case is planning case 21-51, a conditional use permit for a service business with office warehouse at 3050 Coon Rapids Boulevard. 3050 Coon Rapids LLC. Mr. Harlicker.
Yes, this is a conditional use permit request for the multi-tenant building located on 111th and Coon Rapids Boulevard. It's outlined here. People may know that formally as the Tailwind Trailers site. This is a city property to the east. What the applicant is proposing is to occupy 2,300 square feet. This is here with the proposed use. It's kind of on the back side of the building. They'll be occupying that space as a service business with office warehouse in it. About 30% of the space will be office, 70% will be warehouse. They have 3 to 5 employees and are generally open 8 to 5 Monday through Saturday. The other uses currently in the building, we've got the auto repair business here. I'm trying to think. That is the NJ gutter and siding business that's here. This space here got a conditional use permit for an auto detailing business. This area here has been leased to a retail business for party supplies. You've got a tobacco business that's leased this space here. So at this point, you've got this space here vacant, this space here vacant, and this large area down here that did receive approval for a fitness center but was revoked shortly after that. So this space is now vacant also. We went through and staff believes that the proposed use is consistent with the conditional use permit standards. Parking is an issue at this site. Parking requirement for this proposed use is 6 spaces, so it still falls within available parking for the site. Staff is currently working with the applicant on a parking plan for the development of this site. It's a difficult site to accommodate parking. So we are trying to figure out a way to meet the parking requirements for the uses with what is available. With that, the Planning Commission, staff is recommending the Planning Commission approve the conditional use permit with the following conditions. Compliance with Title 11 and the landscape plan that has been approved. They did submit in a landscape plan and staff did approve it, and that must be installed by May 31st of this spring. The other outstanding issues from previous CUPs, they did remove the chain link fence. That has been removed. A portion of the barbed wire in the rear of the building has been removed. However, the existing barbed wire on top of the privacy fence is still in place. And staff is currently working with the applicant on getting that removed. But as of today, it was still up. With that, I'll answer any questions, and the applicant is in the audience also.
Thank you, Mr. Harlicker. Commissioner, any questions for Mr. Harlicker?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Geisler?
Mr. Harlicker, do we need to add the barbed wire as a condition on this one as well, or do we have enough of that around the other CUPs that are in place here?
Commissioner Geisler, I would say we have enough. If we added it now, it would just extend the timeline for them to get it done.
Excellent, thank you.
Mr. Harlicker, do we have anything on trash container for this particular use?
None is shown. As with the other uses, most of the trash has been stored inside. I was out there today and there were no dumpsters outside of the facility. Should that be needed, they would have to put it within an enclosure that's consistent with the masonry material, consistent with the exterior of the building. But at this place, no exterior dumpster storage is proposed.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Geisler?
To follow up on the trash enclosure, just for understanding, all of the tenants of this building could share a singular trash enclosure or dumpster if they so chose, correct?
Yes, they could.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Casey?
Mr. Harlicker, are you saying they don't have trash, or they remove it themselves? Is that what goes on now?
I will let the applicant speak to how
Okay.
each tenant.
And I have another question is, so these businesses you've detailed throughout the building, do they all have conditional use permits?
Commissioner Casey, no, they don't. Some of them are permitted uses. The tobacco sales and the, I would call it party sales. Any retail space is a permitted use and does not require a conditional use permit.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. As far as the trash,
Give your name and address for the record, please.
my name is Rustam, and the address is 3050 Coon Rapids Boulevard, Coon Rapids, Minnesota 55433. So people do have, the tenants do have trash containers, and then I think one of them is inside the fenced area in there, and you can't really see it from the streets. But most other tenants don't have any trash containers. Yeah. I hope
Are you
that
saying
answers.
dumpsters or just barrels?
It's like a metal thing, probably like this big,
Like a dumpster?
like a small one, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you.
And as far as the parking, you're authorizing 6 spaces for this use, but you're saying there's gonna be up to 5 employees. That sure doesn't give much parking for customers.
I mean, up to 5, it's mostly gonna be 2 or 3, and then it's gonna be somebody who will bring a car inside maybe, and then they'll park like a van or something inside. So I don't think there's gonna be, maybe 1 or 2 people in the office at any time. And then basically what we do is we have a remodeling company and we remodel buildings and do kind of maintenance kind of work. So we would just store tools and some material inside and then have some office use. And, we'll come to the place, pick up stuff, and then go to the job site most of the time.
Your customers don't really come to your facility?
Most of the time, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the petitioner from the commission? All right, we may have more later. Thank you. All right, need a public hearing on this matter, so at this time, I will open a public hearing in planning case 21-51, conditional use permit for service business with office warehouse at 3050 Coon Rapids Boulevard. Anyone wish to speak at this public hearing? Anyone wish to speak at the public hearing? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Comments limited to commission. Commissioner, your thoughts?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Geisler?
So I do think, as we've talked multiple times at this site, we're running out of parking stalls. I think it's important that staff keep an eye on that. We're down to 22 left over for potentially 3 vacant areas, one of which is fairly large. So I do have concerns about this facility starting to run out of available parking, and then we have one chunk that just is completely unused because there's nowhere to park cars. That being said, this specific use I have no issues with, but this site is going to become a challenge for us in short order once it fills up.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Casey?
in planning case 21-51, I move that we approve the proposed conditional use permit with the following conditions: compliance with Title 11, and landscaping per the approved plan must be installed by May 31st, 2022.
Second.
Motion by Casey, second by Knobloch. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? And the motion carries. This is a decision by the planning commission, and it can be appealed to the city council within 10 days if so choose. Otherwise, good luck. Our next case, planning case 21-52, a conditional use permit for a fitness center at 11650 Round Lake Boulevard. Amand Brauer. Mr. Harlequin.
It's Amanda, is that right? Correct. Amanda and
Oh,
Stephen
all right, I'm sorry.
Brower.
The
There's
A
a
was,
typo on our packet.
the A was cut off on our program.
Yeah.
Mr.
Yeah,
Harlequin.
Chair and Commissioners, sorry for the misspelling.
That's the story of my life. But that's my name is spelled properly, just pronounced wrong.
The site is located at the corner of Round Lake Boulevard and Coon Rapids Boulevard in an existing multi-tenant building right here. This is the layout of the building. They'll be taking 4,837 square feet, highlighted here in green, with Subway on one side, Edward Jones on the other side, and Liberty Oxygen and My House Fitness are also in that building. This is a layout of the site with the fitness area here, equipment storage over here, restrooms, children's room, and then an entrance area here. Classes will be held Monday through Friday, 5:30 to 10:30, and then in the afternoon from 4:30 to 6:30, and Saturdays from 7 till 9 in the morning. Class sizes will be no more than 30 clients at a time, and there won't be any overlap between between classes. The applicant is not proposing any additional changes to the site other than the interior remodeling. Staff looked at and compared the request to the conditional use permit standards and found that it did comply with those standards. With respect to parking, code requires 12 parking spaces and the site has 61 spaces. So the parking lot should be of sufficient size to accommodate the proposed fitness center. And, staff is recommending approval of the proposed conditional use permit with a condition that it stay in compliance with Title 11 City Code. With that, I'll answer any questions, and the applicant is in the audience also.
Thank you, Mr. Harlicker. Commission, any questions for Mr. Harlicker?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Geisler.
Mr. Harlicker and/or Mr. Bucciccone, on this one, with regards to, there is a mention of a child care facility, and understanding that it's not a permanent child care facility for the express purpose of doing that. Is there any issues with the CUP for the fitness center not allowing that, or is there any gray area that we have to address in there? Or is that considered allowed for how this is written as today?
It's not addressed at the zoning code. It's an amenity that's being provided for the clients while they're using the fitness center. I suppose you could look at it similarly to a juice bar or something like that, an amenity to the fitness center.
Excellent, thank you.
Is there anything the petitioner would like to add? Please come to the microphone, give your name and address for the record.
Amanda Brauer, 2734 153rd Avenue Northeast, Ham Lake, Minnesota. We are trying to bring this fitness center to the Northwest Metro. There are over 300 of these across the U.S. and one of the things that this fitness facility provides for its members as well as the community in general is a safe place for them to come and build a community of not just fitness, but also shared goals and just bettering the community and creating our own community within. So we're really excited to be bringing this to the Coon Rapids, city of Coon Rapids, in the area of Anoka County, and we would just really appreciate your approval.
Thank you. Commission, any questions from the petitioner?
I would have a question. Is it a franchise then that you're
It is.
running? Okay.
Yep, it is. We purchased the franchise, and we are, hoping to bring it to Coon Rapids and in the future other communities.
Are similar facilities, I mean, do they occupy like the same square footage? Similar size?
Yep, typically 4,000 is kind of our minimum square footage. There are gyms smaller than that, but they go as big as like 8,000. So, one of the things that we offer, so he showed in this main floor plan, is we offer a floating floor, which is similar to like a gymnastics floor. So it's forgiving, and so it allows us to do a lot of things that we wouldn't be able to do on a normal gym floor, in protecting our members as well as being able to do some exercises and things that you wouldn't traditionally be able to do in a gym. So the space is just, built for, group fitness and.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions from petitioner at this time? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we need a public hearing in this matter, so I will open a public hearing in planning case 21-52, a conditional use permit for a fitness center at 11650 Round Lake Boulevard. Anyone wish to speak to this public hearing? Anyone wish to speak to the public hearing? Seeing none, close public hearing and limit comments to the commission.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Geisler.
I will move approval in planning case 2152, the approval of a conditional use permit for a fitness center with the following conditions: that it comply with Title 11 of City Code.
Second.
Motion by Geisler, second by Casey. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This is a decision by the Planning Commission, and it can be appealed to the City Council within 10 days if someone so chooses. Otherwise, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioners.
Our next case, planning case 21-53, a preliminary plat for Cardinal Rapids, 12511 Larch Street. Cardinal Rapids LLC. Mr. Harley.
Yes, Chair and Commissioners, preliminary plat is proposal to take this area here, which is an existing parcel and a piece that was owned by the city, and split it into two lots. This is Larch Street and Main Street with a service road at this location here. The property is zoned low-density residential 2, LDR 2. This is the proposed preliminary plat with Lot 1 and Lot 2, and they are, part of this plat is platting right-of-way for the service road. This piece here will be platted as right-of-way. Lot 1, which is the larger lot, is 16,430 square feet, and Lot 2 is 12,997 square feet. The minimum lot size in the LDR2 district is 10,800 square feet. And the lots also comply with the other dimensional requirements of the LDR2 zoning district. Park dedication, when this, the existing plat, which is Highland Manor, it was platted prior to the collection of park dedication. Therefore, park dedication in the amount of $4,000, $2,000 per lot, will be required as a condition of approval. The site is fairly level. It's got a slight rise going from west to east. And it's stated from here, you've got frontage on the service road as well as on Larch Street. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the preliminary plat with the condition that all engineering comments be addressed and park dedication in the amount of $4,000 be paid prior to releasing the plat for recording.
Thank you, Mr. Harlicker. Commission, any questions from Mr. Harlicker?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Geisler.
Mr. Harlicker, obviously this is just the plat, but we've seen other issues where the kind of the clip of the corner of a lot can create some setback issues. Or is the buildable area of these still easily built within for a standard home?
It is, Commissioner Geisler. The setback lines are here is this dashed line right here. So you've got this area here that's buildable and still meet the setback requirements.
Thank you.
All right, we need a public hearing in this case, and I will open a public hearing in planning case 21-53, preliminary plat for Cardinal Rapids, 12511 Larch Street. Anyone wish to speak at this public hearing? Come to the microphone, give your name and address for the record, please. Limit your comments to 3 minutes.
I'm a neighbor. I live just west of that property for 52 years.
Your name and address, please.
Yes. I'm hard of hearing.
Name and address.
Name and address.
Name it. Richard Gieseke, 12512 Larch Street.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, the question I had is when this was approached about 10, 15 years ago, they had the lot split run from that split east to west, which is off the frontage road, which made sense to me. And the sketch that you sent us showed that the lot splits it from north to south. It's not in line with the rest of the houses in the area. I don't know how they're gonna do parking because the county has a walking path right on that curve, which is dangerous enough. They've had enough accidents there. And it's narrower there, so I don't know why they wanna do that.
Mr. Harlicker, you have anything for that?
What's that?
I'm asking Mr. Harlicker.
Well, the way it's laid out,
Which is the frontage road?
here's the frontage road is here. Right there is the
Oh,
frontage
okay.
road.
Yeah.
And Larch Street is here. Up here, the lot's not wide enough to split it this way.
I don't. Yeah, they had it set up to go this way?
Yeah, here's the existing,
Like
if
where
we go
Larch-
back here, that's how it's laid out right now.
Yeah.
And that was city-owned property. When we get the right-of-way added for the service road on Larch Street, it makes this portion of the lot too narrow to be able to split it east to west. So that's why it's going north to south, to accommodate the dimensional requirements, the minimum lot width requirements of
Okay.
the city zoning code.
Where's the access on?
They'll
on
have,
the lot?
you know, this lot here will access off the frontage road, and this one here will likely access off of Larch. That hasn't been determined yet. That'll be looked at when they submit for building plans for the houses.
Yeah. I don't know, it just, looking at it, it looked like it should go the other way, you know. Otherwise, I'm not here to stop progress.
Oh, we appreciate your comments.
So, I guess that's my only question, really. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Anyone else wish to speak at the public hearing? Come to the microphone, please.
Yes, I am Joel Foote, and I live at 601 Main Street Northwest. But of course, I can't get out onto Main Street anymore, so I have to go out Larch. And if I'm looking at this map they sent me, the 601 is right across from where these houses are going to be.
Yep.
And if I look that way, it is to the east. When I'm sitting in my garage,
Okay.
it's to the east. So why don't they make them this way and come to the frontage road?
Chair and Commissioners, that is the way it's being split. This is the,
Well,
this
that
this
isn't
is.
the way it looks.
Well, that's the existing layout. What's being proposed is the lots to be split
way.
this way.
So then they would come out here, because this is a corner, this is a turn here.
Yep, right
My
here.
mailbox has been hit, I don't know how many times,
Mm-hmm.
from going around, especially in the wintertime, of course. And it's hard for me, even when I try to get out of my garage, it's hard for me, if they come around that corner, I can hardly see them until they're
Mm-hmm.
on me.
Yep.
So I don't want a building there at all, because it's just more traffic. And I don't know how, and to me, and if here, they come out here, they can't ever see what's coming around the corner. They'll never see it. But you said they are coming out to this.
That's the way the lots are split. This lot here will probably come out onto the frontage road.
Well, they both should, otherwise,
And this one here will probably come out onto Larch. There is room here to come out if they that's the way they want to do it.
Well,
There's
they
also the
won't-
option of going out this way. Depends on how they situate the house on the lot.
But they won't be able to see what's coming around their corner. I'm telling you, they will not be able to see until they get their nose out of there that they're gonna get hit. It's something else. Thank you.
Thanks you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak at this public hearing? Anyone else wish to speak? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and limit comments to commission.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Schmolke.
So I'll move, in planning case 21-53, I'll recommend approval of the preliminary plat with the following conditions: that all the engineering comments are addressed and that the park dedication in the amount of $4,000 be paid prior to releasing the plat for recording.
Second.
Motion by Schmolke, second by Geisler. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. This is a recommendation by the Planning Commission and decision by the City Council at the December 7th meeting. Next case is a revocation of a conditional use permit. Planning case 13-01, 1149 97th Lane. And we'll skip mentioning the name because I couldn't pronounce it. Mr. Harlicker.
Yes, this is a revocation of a conditional use permit that was issued back in 2013. From time to time, city staff goes through our conditional use permits and checks them with property owners. And if the property has been changed ownership, we consider revoking the conditional use permit because it's no longer in business there. That's what brought these two revocations to the commission this evening. This particular one was issued in March 2013 for a home occupation for a beauty shop. Staff did send out letters to the properties as well as they did receive public hearing notices. We have not heard back from either the current occupant there. So staff is recommending that the Planning Commission revoke the home occupation for the conditional use permit because the home occupation is no longer operating at this address.
Thank you, Mr. Harlicker. We'll open a public hearing in planning case, or revocation of a conditional use permit for planning case 13-01 at 1149 97th Lane. Anyone wish to speak at this public hearing? Seeing no one's present, we will close the public hearing. Commission.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Heikkila.
I move revocation of conditional use permit 13-01, 1149 97th Lane of Samira Abukhudeer.
Second.
Motion by Heikkila, second by Schmolke. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? And this is, the motion passes. This is a decision by the Planning Commission and can be appealed to the City Council within 10 days if someone so chooses. Next case, another revocations, planning case, or revocation of a conditional use permit 13-02 at 12083 Butternut Street. Chantelle, Gieseke. Mr. Harlicker.
Yes, Chair and Commission, this is another case that property has changed ownership and a conditional use permit is no longer operating at this address. The conditional use permit was for a grooming business. The original CUP was approved in April of 2013. And staff is recommending that the Planning Commission revoke the home occupation, or excuse me, the conditional use permit for the dog grooming business because it is no longer in operation at this address.
Thank you, Mr. Harlicker. Open public hearing and a revocation of a conditional use permit for planning case 13-02 at 12083 Butternut Street. Anyone wish to speak to this public hearing? Seeing no one's present, we will close this public hearing. Commission.
Chair Schwartz.
Mr. Schmolke.
In planning case 1302, I make a motion to revoke the home occupation conditional use permit for the dog grooming business based on the finding that the home occupant is no longer operating at this address.
Second.
Motion by Schmolke, second by Geisler. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. This is a decision by the Planning Commission and can be appealed to City Council within 7 days if someone so chooses. Our last case of the evening is Planning Case 21-50, a preliminary plat at 8840 and 8850 Evergreen Boulevard, SFC Coon Rapids. Mr. Harlicker.
Yes, Chair and Commissioners. This is a preliminary plat, 22.9 acres into 2 lots. One is 19.67 acres and the other is 3.25 acres. Lot 2, the 3.25 acres, will be the new lot for development. The applicant has requested that this be postponed to the December 16th meeting. They need additional time to provide information requested by staff. We were looking for a concept plan for the site to make sure that, given the site constraints, it could be developed. We did receive that concept plan, however, it wasn't in a timely enough manner so we could get it on this agenda. Staff is recommending that it be postponed to the December 16th agenda.
Thank you. All right, last month we did open a public hearing on this matter and continued it. So I will reopen the public hearing on this case, planning case 21-50, the preliminary plat at 8840 and 8850 Evergreen Boulevard. Anyone wish to speak to this public hearing? Seeing none, as no one's present, we will recontinue the public hearing to the December 16th meeting. Commission.
Are we okay on the 60-day business?
Yeah, it's good till February 28th.
Gotcha.
Chair Schwartz.
I see that.
Commissioner Knobloch.
I make the recommendation in planning case 2150-50, the commission continue the public hearing to December 16th meeting and postpone consideration of the request at the December 16th meeting. The applicant has agreed to a time extension for review to February 28th.
Chair Schwartz.
Commissioner Schmolke.
Can I just make one clarification or ask the question? Did we actually continue the public hearing from the last?
Yes.
We did? So we heard this one last time?
Well,
Okay.
I continued it last time and I reopened it this time.
Okay,
and
I was just surprised that
recontinued
it wasn't up at the top of the
Yeah, I
others.
know.
That's why I was just confirming. Okay. I'll second that motion.
Motion by Knobloch, second by Schmolke. All in favor? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And this case is continued to the December 16th meeting. And moving on to other business. Mr. Harlicker, you had a request that you wanted to add something or bring something up under other business.
Yes, Chair and Commissioners, under other business, I'd like some discussion and input on the work plan for 2022. Are there any specific items that the Planning Commission wants to address next year that, aside from our typical monthly meetings where we consider applications?
Mr. Chair, go ahead.
Commissioner Geisler, go ahead.
Mr. Harlicker, I think we need to continue our discussions around design use flexibility. That's a common thing that we're looking at. I think we had a great training, but I think we should continue to refresh around that, especially the most common ones and how to really make sure we're using those effectively and appropriately.
I was going to bring up the property at 3050 Coon Rapids Boulevard that Commissioner Geisler made a recommended we keep an eye on that, and that looks like it could be, use some oversight as to future development, what's there now. Is it a warehouse? I'll go back a ways, but it's a warehouse.
Self-storage warehouse.
It's really on them. If we get another application that requires your attention, it'll be here. But we don't have that right now. And I know the discussions between staff and that particular property are ongoing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, just so it's on the radar. Thank you.
And in the spirit of continuous learning here, I would love to see a little bit more conversation around the difference between land use versus zoning, how land use fits within the 2040, 2050 plan, which is now it's showing its way forward. So understanding how those interrelate with, kind of the broader scheme of city, county, MPO, and all the way back down.
There was a time when I came on the commission 5 years ago, where the option to go to some of the League of Minnesota Cities classes and things like that was more available, and then the pandemic shut it all down. So I too would welcome some refreshers to incorporate some of that. Maybe we don't go, it's probably more effective to do it for the whole panel, rather than sending individual commissioners to the classes.
Mr. Chair, if I could,
Yes.
thank you. There's just a few things, at least on the list that I put together from a staff perspective, that I think we would like to discuss at some point with the commission and probably with the council too. And one of which is the past practice that we've had of kind of bifurcating, for lack of a better term, the zoning and land use decisions from site plans and conditional use permits, the townhome development along, what is that, 127th, I think. Is just one of the more recent examples where, we had residents that showed up to that initial public hearing. I think there was some confusion about the level of detail that was going to be provided. I know this commission has had a history of separating those two things, and I think from our perspective at the staff level, we'd like to re-engage in that if there's interest in revisiting that topic, talking a little bit about the pros and cons, and if that's a practice we want to continue going forward. There are merits to continuing on our current path. There are also things we're not legally bound to necessarily do it that way. There are a lot of communities that kind of package everything together. So I think that would be a relevant topic for us, at least from the staff perspective, that we'd like to get feedback on from the commission. So we could add that to the list if there's interest.
Sounds good. Continuing ed.
Yes, yep, for
I'm
sure.
always for streamlining processes.
Will that give you some idea, Mr. Harlicker?
That's exactly what I was looking for.
All right. And anything else do you have under other business?
Other business, got Schneiderman's is moving forward in the old Sears building. They did submit permits for renovating that building for the furniture store. The grocer that's going into the old JCPenney's, they're finishing up the demo on that and are expected to start the interior rebuild shortly. The apartments over on 102nd by the post office. They've got their permits, have not started construction yet. Paladin School has submitted their permits, and those should be finalized shortly, and they should probably be starting construction this winter, at least the interior stuff, and exterior if there's weather permits. Next month, we will have a site plan. Mercy Hospital is proposing to expand their emergency, not the emergency room, but the ambulance bay at the facility. And American Preclinical over on Evergreen, they're proposing an addition to their building also. So those will be the two new projects that the Planning Commission will be looking at next month.
I see they broke ground on the car wash, and they've broke ground on, what was the other one? I was gonna say?
Walzer Hyundai.
Yes.
The Walzer, yes. They got grading permits to get the grading started because there's so much soil correction to go on out there. And they've currently got their building permit under review.
And did you say a while back that they had already started the procedure for the extra parking at the Springbrook Apartments?
Yep.
Because that's,
Yeah, there's parking issues.
cars parked everywhere over there.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, if I can add one other item.
Yes, sir.
As you know, Chair Schwartz and a few members of the commission, the council had a work session, was it last week? Regarding a warehouse proposal by Federal Cartridge. Vista Outdoors is the parent company for the portion of their property that's in Coon Rapids. Their main manufacturing facility is in Anoka. And for those who were there, they're, I think, a little bit familiar with what the issue is. The company wants to do a roughly 100,000 square foot expansion, which would not be permitted under the current zoning standards because we have an overlay district. And so the policy feedback that the company and staff was seeking from council was, are you comfortable with the idea of somehow modifying either our code or potentially lifting a portion of the overlay so that they could proceed with a warehouse project with the underlying industrial zoning in place? And I think the general consensus, I think, was relatively positive. I think the council expressed an interest in working with the company. So I would anticipate probably for your January meeting that we would start with a zone change regarding the overlay, and then that would proceed in an ordinance fashion for the council to then consider in February. And then the company would likely submit a site plan for more than likely your February meeting. So just something to be aware of on the horizon. I did send an email out to the commission notifying you of that, and I thought I would just provide an update on what happened for those of you who were not able to attend.
It's too bad we couldn't get federal to call it a self-storage facility, then it'd be all right.
Self-storage warehouse.
We really don't like to do that with gunpowder.
Hazardous storage.
Yes.
All right, anybody else have anything for other business?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Casey, second by Knobloch, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.